Boom, it's the Bluewater. You've never seen anything like this before. Why do we have it? What does it do? Why did we invest nearly 6 figures in this machine? Well, the story starts nearly 18 years ago when I was washing screens in a car wash. I knew there had to be a better way. Washing screens sucks. It is the absolute worst job in the shop. Now, a lot of people get into screen printing because they love the art side of it. They like producing things. Screen printing is fun, and learning that craft, getting better at it, dialing it in, seeing all the different designs, types of inks, and types of materials that you can print on is a lot of fun, and there's a lot of creativity that's involved with that. But you need screens to screen print. Screen printing, you need the screen, and it is one of the most important parts of getting a good screen printed job done. You need a clean screen. In order to get a clean screen, well, you've got to reclaim and clean the screens, which is not fun. It's terrible, it's loud, it's messy, it's the absolute worst job in the shop. Nobody looks forward to cleaning screens at all. This all started 18 years ago when I first started screen printing. We got the screens burnt, we're printing t-shirts, and then it came time, how do we wash the screens? I didn't even have a washout booth to clean the screens, so I had to take our first screens to a car wash to reclaim them. And then I had an old shower that we were washing them out in. It was a painstaking, long task. It took forever. There was a lot of scrubbing involved, and we just used a hose. It was before we even had a power washer. I was like, I've got to figure this out. I've got to make this easier because this job absolutely sucks. So we got a proper washout booth. We invested in a power washer. We started figuring out and dialing in the right chemicals to make the job a little bit easier. That lasted for a long time. Over the course of that time, as our company began to grow, we were going through more and more screens every single day, every single week. And it seemed like we couldn't keep up with washing the screens compared to the amount of screens we were needing to burn and print with. Every time I'd go to a trade show, I was looking at what is the reclaim equipment, how can we make this easier and better? The byproduct of that is you've got the chemicals, so it's not just the unit, but it's the chemicals that go in the unit. I really want to look for a unit that was environmentally friendly, what's going to use the least amount of water and the least amount of chemicals, and how can we maybe recycle some of that water or some of them chemicals so it's not just all going down the drain. This took a long time, and I go to trade shows, look at equipment, not quite find the right one. I would ask other shops and I would hear feedback. It was always this 50-50 argument of like, some shops absolutely loved the machine they had. The next shop I'd ask would have that same machine and they absolutely hated it. So I could never figure out like, okay, well, if this machine half people love and half people hate, and then there's this machine that half people love and half people hate, how do I decide what machine to get? Which caused me to just not get a machine. So we're still reclaiming screens the old way of just washing them out, scrubbing them by hand, using a power washer. And the worst part of this whole process is hiring someone to do this job. It's not a glamorous job. When you put this job online or on a job board, nobody's looking and raising their hand saying, I want to clean screens for a living. Typically, you're finding part-time work. Maybe it's temp workers, college students, high school students, someone just looking for something to do. It's hard to train them, and it's hard for them to fall in love with it or enjoy it and actually want to keep coming back and maintain that job. The other part is it's meticulous. You can't go halfway and have a halfway clean screen. It's got to be very clean, because if the screen isn't cleaned all the way, all the emulsion off, all the ink off, all the ghosting spots, red marks, like everything else, then you're starting with a bad screen. You go to coat that, it's not going to coat right. You go to burn it, it's not going to burn a clean image into it. So it all starts with the washing. It's crazy to think about, but the worst job in the shop is also one of the most important jobs in the shop, because if you don't start with a clean screen, you're not going to have a good print. Everything else goes from there. So clean screen, you get a nice coat of emulsion on there, you can burn it, you're going to have less issues on press with pinholes and just everything else that goes with it. So we've got to find a better way to get it done. My buddy Alan calls me up and Alan says, Tom, you've got to see this new machine out. It's invented by Bluewater, and this is a reclaim unit. It's got separate areas, so the chemicals in the first chamber, water's rinsing in the second chamber, and then it's drying. It's got air vents that's drying in the third chamber. So the chemical is separate from the water, so we're not cross-contaminating each thing as it goes through the line, and it's coming out completely clean and dry all in one shot. I'm like, Alan, you've got to show this to me. So go to a trade show, check out all the equipment, look at this, talk to people that are using it already. It's still pretty early in its adoption phase, and so I'm talking to people who are using it and they're loving it. I didn't really hear any bad feedback on it. Like, you've got to test this thing out. We've got to check it out. After 10 years of waiting, finally I said, you know what? I'm sick and tired of trying to hire people, trying to have this terrible job filled in the shop. We've got to buy this thing and we've got to make it happen. So pulled the trigger on investing, and this is a big investment for the shop. But I did my math on it and I did my research. So here's a few things you want to look for before making an investment this big. You want to see, like, what are the number of screens per day you're using in your shop? What are the number of screens per week, per month, per year? Because there's different sizes you can get. You can get smaller machines, you can get bigger machines, a bigger end feed, things like that. And so you want to know what your capacity is and how many screens per day, per week, per month you're going through, so you have the right machine that's going to fit your shop, or even a little bit bigger, knowing that if your shop is growing, you want to be able to handle that increased capacity. Here's the biggest thing about it. We're going to reduce water, we're going to reduce chemicals that we're using, so that's going to save us money. And the biggest thing is we're going to reduce time as well. So we're looking at measuring all these things of, like, all right, how many screens are we using? How much chemical are we using per month? What is that cost per screen based on the chemicals we're currently using? What is our labor cost? How many hours a day or per week do we have somebody burning screens? And back that out into the number of screens washed, and you can figure all that in so you actually know your cost per screen for reclaiming. It's everything from the labor to the chemicals and the time involved to do it. So once you know that, then you know your cost per screen. Then when you look at the price of making this investment, it's a pretty easy thing to figure out and do the math. All you gotta do is back out and say, all right, if this saved me X number of hours per day or per week or per month, plus it saved me X amount of chemical, what does that add up to in a year, in 2 years, in 3 years, in 5 years? So mathematically, you can really quickly figure out, like, what is your return on that investment. The other part that you can't measure is employee happiness and the amount to retain and hire for this position. So the great thing now that we've made this investment is we're able to hire a lot quicker. We're able to retain these guys. They're enjoying this job a little bit more, then it's not as dirty. They're putting them in the units, they're coming out clean. Sometimes we're giving them a little rinse afterwards, but it's basically taking all the dirty work out of it and all the scrubbing and a lot of the physical labor out of it. So it's making it a lot easier. We're able to plug people into running this machine very quickly. So hiring temp workers, high school, college kids, you name it, pulling someone from another department, it's very easy to get somebody else onto the machine and keeping it going on a daily basis. This is a big investment. I was really worried to pull the trigger because it's a lot of money and I want to make sure it's going to work. But at the end of the day, action beats inaction. And what I've learned from any other equipment purchase in my shop is every time we bought a piece of equipment, direct to screen burning unit or an automatic press, I've always purchased it a few years too late. I wish every time we've done it, I've seen the results, I've seen their ROI, I've seen that payback, and I always kick myself saying, I wish I would have bought this a few years earlier. What is this machine behind me? This is the Bluewater inline reclaim unit. This reclaims screen. So whether you're starting out a medium-sized shop or a big shop, this is a must-have for any shop. The size of the unit will depend on the amount of screens that you're going through, but this is one of those things that when you get an automatic press and you're going through a lot of screens, you need to be able to keep up with the screens with the demand of the amount that you're printing. And the only way to do that faster is with an automatic reclaim unit. You don't want to be pulling guys off the press to be reclaiming screens and wasting time doing that, and it's a dirty job anyways that nobody likes to do. So we got to make it easier, make the work environment better, and make reclaiming screens a little bit more enjoyable for everybody. So whether you're small business or big business, this is a key piece of equipment that you want to invest in sooner than later in your business. A lot of people are so focused on the sexy equipment, the new shiny object out there, whether it's DTG or direct-to-film printer or automatic press. But once you start growing, you really want to look for this reclaim unit, something that's going to help the hardest and messiest job in your shop, because nobody's going to want to do it. So the quicker you can eliminate that, it's going to help boost employee morale big time. So check it out at a trade show, call around, see who's got a unit, get feedback on those current units, and then go all in and make it happen. Cool thing is, I saw this, I know Alan, how he does an amazing job. Alex, the whole crew at Bluewater, Jesse came out, installed everything. I've got his cell phone number that anytime we need something, he's one call away. Their customer service has been absolutely amazing. Everything has been great from start to finish, and can't say enough about this experience. From the install to running it to, we've had it now. We've had this over a year, and it's been a success. It's been we've got huge ROI on the investment. We haven't had any issues with it. It's helping the employee morale. It's helping us hire people to actually want to do this job. We're getting clean screens. We're saving a lot of money. We're reducing our environmental impact from the chemicals to the water and everything in between. So it's been an absolute game changer in our screen printing department. The biggest takeaway here is action beats inaction. What I've learned is time is money, and the quicker you make that investment, the quicker you'll make back that ROI, and that will help your business grow. If you want to learn more about Bluewater lamps, we'll have a link below. Feel free to reach out to them, check out a demo, and see this thing in action and how it can help your shop grow as well.